What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Flip Side, a Get Your Teach On podcast where we break down, share, and challenge flipped perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. My name is Chris. I'm joined here in studio with Hope and Wade. Also on today's episode, we are joined by Loreal and Stephanie, the girls of Happily Ever Elementary. They are creators, art teachers, and two incredible people. We're going to be diving into classroom aesthetics, too much or too little. We're going to be breaking down that conversation and flip perspectives right here. Welcome to The Flip Side.
All right, you guys. I feel like we need to bring everybody a little bit into the behind the scenes of the podcast space.
Yes, please.
First of all, have y'all seen the videos on TikTok of the cicadas?
Absolutely
the
not.
Takeover of cicadas.
What? I didn't even think I knew that. Okay.
But I feel like that happens every year, and then they're just like, "Oh my gosh, this year is the worst ever."
I've never seen that in my life. I didn't realize that it was like
a whole plague. Do you have them here in South
plague.
Carolina? Cicadas?
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't ever get like the plague.
Oh,
I haven't seen this on TikTok, but yes, cicadas are back. There are actually two species of cicada this year. That's why there's so many. So there you go.
Okay, well.
But I have no clue what you're talking about with the TikTok.
Anyways, when I tell you that, like on these TikTok videos, it is like you have to swim through the cicadas. Like people's cars have been covered.
I clearly don't know what you're talking about then because I'm already.
Maybe it's AI. I don't think it is, but I did not realize. Like I thought they were just like, oh, bugs.
How is that like not on the news?
It
Swimming
is.
through it?
I mean, okay, that's a little dramatic, but like literally covering the whole ground,
That's
every
disgusting.
wall.
Where are these
I'm gonna find one
places?
and
Where
show
are
it
these
to you.
places?
I don't know. I didn't. Look
Yeah,
at
so
the
I think in
pictures.
Georgia in the southeast, I don't think they've come out yet. Like that, but they will, and so
Okay.
you will be able to hear them.
But
if you're
anyways,
very
I want
loud.
you, if you've seen those.
And they're blind. Is that correct about cicadas?
No.
I think cicadas are blind.
So
I could be wrong, and if I am, I'm so sorry to the cicada family. But I don't think they can see, and that's why they like bump into things.
and they're so
like,
loud.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have cicadas. That is not the issue here.
I was wondering where you were going.
But
I don't know where this was going with cicadas, but
we have a centipede plague. Like when I tell you that when I walked in,
takeover.
when I walked in here today,
Yeah, they're
Abby,
everywhere.
one of our team members here at the warehouse, what did she have? A hammer? She was literally like
Just flicking
chipping them off the
They're
walls.
tiny. I mean, they're
There
kind
are
of cute if you want it
thousands
as a pet.
of them, and they're everywhere. And I don't like. We're not in a disgusting space. I don't want you
It
to
doesn't
think like
even look like a centipede though. It kind of looks like that.
they're everywhere.
That little inchworm from Sesame Street
Yeah,
that like crawls on the shoulder. It's like, that's how they move. They're so like
Yeah,
they're
little
tiny, but there
they're
are
very tiny.
hundreds.
Oh, speaking
crawling
of
in.
Sesame Street, at some point you got to tell the Martha Stewart story, but we'll save that. For
Oh yeah, save that for another episode.
But the centipedes.
Shout out to Martha.
But the centipedes are crazy. They're everywhere. So, anyways, if you see one crawling on the wall behind me at any point in time or on the table, just know we are very clean here, but there is a centipede.
Yeah, we're in
It's-
the country.
There,
I mean,
well,
We
there.
are. So the warehouse is in. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk here.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Y'all go ahead.
The warehouse
If you heard
is.
our first episode, this is my life.
The
Go ahead.
warehouse is in Anderson, South Carolina. So we are in the country, but also
yeah. Oh yeah.
mine is the centipedes.
I love it. So we have a.
Oh, wait,
lot of
Wade
guests.
was gonna say
Go
something.
ahead.
Ah! Centipedes do like moisture, and
Oh,
so it's been
God.
very wet and humid, been rainy. Also, they like other dry spaces, so they don't really know what they like, but I think the warehouse is like a giant garage.
Bill Nye.
And so
Thank
there
you.
you
I
go.
was gonna say Miss
I just
Frizzle.
wanted to, so it makes sense that they would be here.
I was gonna say
a
thank
lot
you,
of
Miss
them.
Frizzle.
Miss
Bill
Frizzle is
Nye,
great.
the
Bill
science
Nye,
guy.
love them both.
Yeah.
And our favorite though is who? Who's our favorite science guy?
Steve's
Uncle
big.
Steve.
Uncle Steve.
That's him.
Uncle
Yeah.
Steve. But we're excited to dive into today's episode. Like we said, Stephanie and Loreal from Happily Ever Elementary are here, and we cannot wait to dive in. So
Do
let's
it.
get to it. They are officially here. Loreal and Stephanie. Is it Loreal and Stephanie or Stephanie and Loreal? What do you usually do?
We don't really care.
It's like-
If you see it like a signature, it's whoever's writing it puts their name first.
It's not like a brand name. It's like
No.
I'm claiming my spot first.
Yeah,
But
it just is what it is.
the
I think
dream team are here, and the energy already. I mean, we just told a story about there's centipedes that have taken over the studio.
Yeah.
So if you feel something crawling on you, it's not Hope like just tickling the back of your head. It might be a centipede.
Or if you walk in the bathroom, sorry guys.
Yeah.
We'll be on high alert.
So you guys are like snug as a bug or like a centipede in a rug on the couch. But we're excited to have you all here, Loreal and Stephanie. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, but incredible educators, incredible creative minds, but more importantly, incredible humans. We're so excited to have you on.
And mamas.
And mamas.
We're the biggest
And
hats to
soon
wear.
to be mama for a third time.
Yes, girl.
There we go. Woo, woo. But I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, tell them where you're from, what you do, and kind of just give them a little about yourself.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll begin and she'll fill in. We are Stephanie Loreal. We are 2 art teachers from Las Vegas. We started in the classroom as gen ed teachers in primary. We do have a love for the littles, but now teaching art, we get to teach all K through 5 students. We truly love our job, and we have been friends since we were 16 years old.
What?
So we've grown up together.
Yeah, absolutely. We've grown our families together, and I think now what we're kind of getting to experiment with is in the last 3 years, we've taken on a part-time position teaching, which has been really great for us because as business owners as well, we still get to keep our foot in the door when it comes to teaching, which is our first passion, and our business just grew organically and we're really lucky, but we split a contract. So it's kind of a unique thing that we're kind of trying to help teachers advocate just to even try and ask for, because it's always a no until you ask. But it has been game-changing for us as moms and as Happily Ever Elementary.
And fashion icons. I just have to say.
Literally,
They're
I was
always
gonna
so
say
cute.
that. I was literally going to say that. You might recognize Stephanie and Loreal from the GYTO Collective, rocking their looks on our website. We just love you all, so we're so excited to be here. Now, on the flip side, we always break down different topics, perspectives in education. So we thought, what a better way for you all than to talk about what brings you probably the most joy: the look, the vibe, the feel of a classroom, not only from an art teacher's perspective, but you are moms, your kids are in school, what that looks like for you, and just what you've learned about different types of students. So today's episode is all about classroom aesthetics, too much or too little. And here's what I'm coming from this. I am, and I know Hope is very similar, in a more is more, like more is great for me. I just thrive off that kind of environment, the experience it creates for kids. But I've often been told by many people, this is too much, never by a parent, never by a student, but by, the judgy to make judger next door. This is too much. You need to be doing less bright colors, more blues and things like that. So that's kind of where this conversation is going to take us on classroom aesthetics in your room, whether it's a general ed classroom, your art classroom, what it looks like. Too much, too little? Are there things we should be doing? Are there things we shouldn't be doing? So I'm going to turn things over to the experts first. Let's just talk about color first. Is there, and I know there's a lot of research besides blues, greens, what are your feelings besides that? Because I know there's research that can prove anything, essentially. But what is your feeling on the vibe?
Anything.
If you Google it, you're going to find the answer you want, right? Like I've diagnosed myself with like a million different things,
Love
and I
that.
have like,
Yeah,
sure. But what is your feeling on color first? Because we know if you follow these girls, they live in a world of color.
We do.
It is not black and white. So talk a little bit about that vibe first.
We completely understand that there's something called color theory. And we understand that, and I do believe in isolation. We teach this. Colors exude certain emotions and they invoke things in students and in people.
Yeah.
However, we, like you, when it comes to color specifically, might be considered maximalists. We see beauty in all the colors and the combination of them all together. And we have gotten that same kind of feedback of, is it too overstimulating? Is it engaging our students in the wrong way? And we have not found that. Like she said, we taught kindergarten and first grade for 5 to 8 years before becoming art teachers, and both of us had extremely vivid, colorful rooms, and we had so much engagement. Like our students were so excited. They bragged about our classrooms to other students. They went home and they could not wait to explain to their parents where they get to go to school. And I do think color played a big part in that. We did not have neutral classrooms. And we know that's a whole audience and that's a whole group of people that can appreciate that aesthetic. We just personally don't have a lot of experience in that realm.
Yes, and our school opened 6 years ago. And when they did, they painted each room a color without our choice, in the matter.
Yeah.
We walked into our school building and they had chosen colors for each classroom, and there was 3 classroom colors: bright orange, magenta, and teal.
Oh.
Neutral. As neutral as you can be.
And
We love the boldness.
Yes, and a lot of teachers had issues with the color that they were assigned. didn't play well with their
For
feelings
sure.
and stuff. And we begged our art teacher, can we please paint the art room? And she's like, girls, what now? What color do you want? And we actually painted it white. We painted the room back white because we wanted to start with a clean slate and then bring the color in.
There.
So interesting. I love that.
Although we love color, we still like to kind of start with more of like a neutral vibe and then bring in the color in ways that we can control. But the poor teachers who have the rooms that they can't control have to make it work, which makes it very difficult.
I love that you brought that up because the room that we got in the art room, mind you, it's a larger room, so larger than the classrooms just by a bit, but it was that mauve-y color, kind of a dusty rose.
Yeah.
And it did feel dusty.
It lived up to its name.
It felt like a little bit drab and heavy, and then like you said, we brightened the space. The white was able to like reflect a lot more light into the space. We don't have huge windows. We have smaller, odd-shaped windows, but they do let in light. And when we brought in the white, it reflected it, lit up the space, and then we accessorized with a ton of color.
Lots of color.
Yeah, so it's back to school season, and I love that you brought up kind of the light, the setup, because a lot of teachers are setting up their classrooms. They have this vision. Maybe they got it off social media or just something they love or their passion, or maybe they are purchasing your line that you guys have created just to bring that to their classroom. What are some things, and hopefully I'm going to tap into you too, what are some things that you're kind of like must-haves for classroom setup when it comes to creating this environment for students that essentially they're probably going to spend more time in your classroom than they will in a room in their house. And you as a teacher, obviously, your primary time is spent there. So what are some must-haves when it comes to classroom aesthetics that you want to have for your students?
Well, I have lots of questions to ask you guys too, because I also want to get into you guys as moms and what you notice about your own children, because I think that we've had many conversations that, wow, when you become a mom, you notice things so differently, and a dad, you notice things so differently than you did before. So we'll get into that. But one of the things that I have always thought about decor is, and one of the things that I've always noticed about myself, and maybe you guys are the same, the way that I teach is impacted by my environment. And the way that I teach is contagious for my kids. So if I am teaching in a space that I am like what is even happening here? Whether that is because it's dirty or there's too much, everything's everywhere and there's no organization, or because it's just hideous or whatever, that impacts the way that I show up. And so for me, when it comes to must-haves, I first want to make sure that my space is something that inspires me. Now, I know that I am only one part of that classroom. I'm only one part of that environment, and we have to understand that students might not have the same likes or personalities or be attracted to the same things. But I feel like energy is just such a big piece of the effectiveness that you have as an educator. And so for me, my classroom must-haves are always going to be things that bring me joy, that make me excited. So absolutely. I know, while I love color, because we're all very similar in the fact that the more color, the better for me. But I know one of the biggest must-haves for me is lighting in my classroom. Is, obviously we've always had classrooms that have the harsh
of course
lighting. And so bringing in lamps and bringing in different small things, being able to have the blinds open, that's always been a must-have for me, because I feel like that is what changes the mood. One of the biggest things that we even found in going to and working with the state of Indiana, which you guys are out in Vegas, is, man, I'm telling you, I would start teaching kindergartners, first graders at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. And at 8 a.m., these kids were already falling asleep and lethargic. Yes. And I'm like, but then I start thinking about, well, in the state of Indiana in the winter, it is always gray. Yeah. They go to school when it's dark outside. They walk into dark classrooms. Most teachers would have the lights like completely off with maybe a smart board or a projector on. And I'm like, then they go home when it's dark. No wonder there's no lighting to promote. It's time to get to work.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know what you guys have seen like with your students and out in Vegas, because obviously it's you guys don't.
We get some.
You don't get gray.
360 days of sun.
Yeah. But I was even like, wow, has anybody done a study about light therapy in some of these spots?
I would love to see that.
To know like how that impacts children's moods and the way that they are about just, again, the energy that they have. So for me, lighting is a big must-have in my classroom.
Well, you tapped on two things that we feel very passionate about when it comes to creating spaces specifically for students and education is function. Mm-hmm. Like you said, if you're showing up and you're like, how do I function in this space? It's disorganized, it's a mess, and feeling. Mm-hmm. And those are two things that do go together. Like you said, you show up as your best self when you're feeling your best. Yeah. And depending on how you value aesthetic, maybe you don't believe that your space really, can build you up in that way. But for us, firsthand, we know it. we've been in several classrooms, both of us, and our art room we share, and we were able to build that from the ground up. And man, are we able to serve children in it, because we walk in there and we're ready to teach. Like, we are so ready to go. And as art teachers specifically, we create a lot of events, a lot with very special lighting, which is like always, like you said, like a game changer. Like, it's like, it adds this like wow factor. But for these events, when it comes to creating spaces, it does engage students, it engages families, it engages communities, and it does change the vibe, it changes the feeling. You're describing Indiana, and it sounds like I'd have seasonal depression year round. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't process that way either. Yeah. And so that would, like, I've been to DC during the rainy season for 2 weeks. I was like, why am I sad? Like, you know, and it's like, if I was going to school like that, I wouldn't be ready to learn. I wouldn't be ready to.
Kids. Yeah.
Right. So that is something that we consider.
Yeah, my one of my old schools, they were inside classrooms and outside classrooms. So some classrooms got windows with natural light, and we're in Florida, so that's like a win.
Yes.
And the other 50% of the school is on the inside, where it's
in
just
shadows.
4 walls. So teachers would literally put like graphics on the wall of like making a window. So it would like be that kind of like outside, or like on their projector they would put like the beach or that natural light, because just like Hope was saying, to that point, it makes such an impact that if you're stuck in this room, and that's obviously out of your control, right? You very rarely get to choose the classroom you're going to teach in, but making the most of it in the colors, what it looks like. But wait, I actually don't know this answer, and I was like, I wonder what it would be if you had to kind of, now you've been in a ton of different classrooms, and just to fill the girls in, I like get hives teaching in someone else's. It can be the most organized classroom, or it can be the most chaotic classroom. I cannot teach in someone else's space, so I love that you said that. It, like, everything can have its perfect order. If it's not mine, I literally feel like, what is, like a robot almost. Like, I don't know where things are.
Walking for the first time.
But what have you found for you, and ranging from kindergarten all the way through middle school, high school, what has kind of changed the game of kids are kids, no matter if they're in kindergarten or whether they're in high school? What does that look like for you in kind of classroom aesthetics? Too much, too little? Because I know you're not going to go all out like Hope and I to like literally paint little droplets on the wall, because we love that kind of thing there. But your passions or things like that, you obviously will bring in.
I know. Apparently he didn't know.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
My classroom's probably cooler than any of yours.
Whoa. You know what? I feel that.
Right down the road here. So no, I mean, I feel the same way. I think I want to just kind of piggyback on a few things that have been said. Hope you were talking about, it needs to be a space that you're excited about. If you are the teacher, yes, for your students, but also for you. If you think about it, you're in there all day long, and you're the thermostat in that room. Mm-hmm. You're the only constant in that room. And so if you're not excited to walk in that room, or you're not comfortable to walk in that room, your kids won't be either. They feed off of your energy. And so I think that is very important. Going back to your point, I mean, you and I are thespians. Believe it or not.
Drama queen. We are thespians.
In it.
There's another thespian in the room.
Is it the 3 of you guys?
Yes.
It's okay, Hope.
I'm attracted to thespians.
Exactly. Group us all. It's the opposites attract.
I mean, every teacher in a way, though, you know?
It is. It's
Insert the choreography here.
The kick line begins.
Cut to the B-roll of the opening number.
It's a good thing you've never had to do one of Chris's dances then.
Oh, gosh.
It is not too late.
Not yet. Not yet.
We can post-edit an opening number for just this podcast.
The day is young.
If you know, you know. Yeah.
Sorry, wait, go ahead. Thespians, we're
I'm backstage with my thespian, so I'm not front row like you guys.
Ensemble.
I'm sorry.
I was a baritone.
Wow.
Anyways,
a little red and yellow and green
and orange and Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. There you go. All right. Anyways, I ran the lights for those. I didn't really do it, but ensemble,
that's a lot of work.
Sing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I say that because I'm surprised. Did you not know what my classroom looked like here at Pendleton Elementary School?
I don't think I know Hope had like a Justin Bieber cutout in hers here in South Carolina.
See? Unforgettable.
I do remember that, but I don't think.
So I transformed my whole classroom. Oh my gosh, and this is so bad. So I'm a person who will not ask for permission, and I'll just do it. And
I co-sign.
Anyway, my classroom was this nasty royal blue. Okay, so took sponge paint, all the things, but then
all colors are beautiful.
All colors are beautiful. This was not.
It wasn't
for
his.
me.
It didn't make him.
It
wasn't a vibe for him.
No, it was not a vibe for me. So kind of transformed that, but then also I got a huge stage in my classroom before stages were a thing. We did that. I did like a little, it was a T-walk, had a little walkway on it. It was huge.
Oh, like a fashion show.
Runway.
Here's what he
was.
did.
Catwalk.
Here's what he did.
I took lights, up lights, but then we also...
I gotta tell about the stage though, because this is the difference. This is why I didn't have a stage, because I'm a rule follower, and I would never go into a closet and take something for the fear of. Well, it's crazy because in a school,
If there are cobwebs on it and no
rule
one's
follower.
using it
But
for 5 years,
Yeah,
you're going to
free.
take it.
he went and got these little smart board like risers
That they used in kindergarten.
and he made a whole catwalk out of like
That's
6
amazing.
smart board
I
risers.
appreciate the resourcefulness.
I went to
Yeah,
Home
it was.
Depot, all the things, but then I painted it, epoxied it, highlighted it.
yeah.
I put ring lights or I put up lights on whatever on the edges of them. But then our church here, New Spring Church, at this time they had a whole series for the kids program, superheroes. I was like, oh, I'm so inspired by that. That's really cool. When the Marvel movies were coming out, like Captain America had just so way back in the day. And so I made these not Power Ranger, I would have done that. But I made these superhero boxes with uplights in them that had the things coming out on their superhero outfits. But then I would change out one of the whiteboards to like do algebraic expressions and all the things. But then on the back was a huge word wall with like it was sick.
It was
I'm hearing costume
extravagant.
changes, set
I
changes.
love that.
I did.
5, 6,
Spoken
like a
7,
true
8. I'm hearing all the
thespian.
things.
My objective, my target, which is what you guys call it, but my objective standard was up at the front that I would change in and out that looked like their mission for whatever. So yeah, I mean, I made it my own. My kids were excited about it. I would also play, I think, so going back to your point, Hope, you've got to be excited as a teacher to walk in. Lighting is so important. And that's something that I found a lot. Like you said, you feel nervous when you teach in other people's classrooms. Yeah. I really don't, because I bring things that can be consistent with me. So I'll bring my guitar. I'll bring my little ball. I make it because I've done it so much. But then those are things that bring life to me. But then also I turn the lights on wherever I go. Going back to Host Point, I open those blinds, turn the lights on. I had one of those patio lights. Yeah, the patio lights. I would climb up on a ladder, hang them from the ceiling without permission, but they didn't care apparently. Probably fire hazard. But I also think one thing we haven't talked about is sound pollution. I know that's a little different, but I think that also brings the climate and the culture of what type of room you're in. So if kids can't hear you, which we know, and kids don't know if they can't hear you. So sound pollution, what that looks like, even in here, it's very tingy right now. So we'll probably fix that later on, which I said don't fix it because we don't know yet, but now we know. So I think that the sound, the lighting, and the decor, obviously, and the colors are very important in the classroom. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What was your first classroom like? Like first day as a teacher, what were your vibes? I know it's probably very different than what it is now, but I'm just curious, what did your first classroom ever, what grade were you teaching first of all?
Okay.
And what did it look like?
Well, I started teaching 2 years before Stephanie, and I started in a first grade classroom, and she was with me day one, setting up classroom,
I was still
creating
in college,
things.
so I was like tagging along, like
Wow.
taking
Gearing
notes.
up.
Like I was like,
Nice.
oh, your first classroom, I'm dreaming of this.
But I think for a lot of teachers like us, there's a lot of excitement with getting your first set of keys, and you have been stockpiling for years. And my mom was a teacher, my sister was a teacher, so growing up, like I knew teaching was for me. So anytime they got rid of something from an early age, I'm like, I'll take it. My first classroom, we garage sale for our first set of books. So we moved in with a U-Haul truck, and I know that's strange, but like we had so much in preparation because we were gearing up for this moment of getting our keys. And the classroom decor came easy. We did big themes, and so I had ocean theme, and it was so fun and so cute. There was characters. I really like what you shared about your classroom theme, because as boy moms on this couch,
Oh my gosh. Say what?
we sometimes get pushback of maybe we're picking a theme that might be girly because we
Gender
enjoy,
specific.
Yeah, for sure.
whatever the case might be. So we really enjoy hearing that there's classrooms out there that
Oh,
our
yeah.
sons would enjoy, and there's classrooms for everyone. But truly what kids enjoy, because we look at Disneyland, I know we're all Disney
Correct.
people here.
Disney adults.
Just color and vibrancy and patterns
Yep.
and prints. There's a reason why Disney experts create the way they do with all these
Yes.
things that interest children. So I think when we created our first classroom, it was all out. And I know that's not for everyone. Some people walk into their classroom and only have little bits. But we have so many tips that we've shared with new teachers on how to get things for free, how to create your first classroom. You don't need to spend a ton of money.
People want to help teachers, and I think we said it at the beginning of the podcast, it's always a no unless you ask, and I don't
Correct.
know where we lost the fear of asking for help.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, one of the questions that we get constantly in our DMs on social media is, I just don't understand how you guys do all of that. And it's like, we do ask for help when it's needed. And like, we've used Donors Choose for so many projects to get funding for tech, for funding for lights, for flexible seating, for furniture, like so much we have not funded, and people are like, must be nice. And it's like, this is not the room we walked into.
Actually, it is nice. But I asked for it. It is very nice. I appreciate
it's nice because I worked so hard for this.
But you asked.
But it's so
People willing to help.
attainable for people, and I don't think they realize it because they've decided this is what I was given. I guess I'll make do. And it's like, you do have control over some things. Like,
correct.
We've reached out to community partners, like businesses. We have a neighborhood school, so we've reached out to small businesses and said, like, we can promote your stuff at our school if you want to help out. And there's I would say like 85% of the time it's a yes, and it's a hard yes. It's like, let us know if you need anything else.
They love helping teachers.
Yes, absolutely. And I think for her and I, we are planners, and we do care a lot about, like she said, the Disney feeling. That's like a Disney effect. There's something about like you just walk into the space and you're like, let's go, like let's do it. And like we see it, like we talked about when we throw events. It's the full family first off. It's not just like the kid, like, look, here's my artwork. It's literally they walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, what? Like this was just a plain hallway, and now look at it. Like there's this initial response, and like you were describing your classroom, like Loreal said, my son dresses like a superhero in different ways every single day. Right now he's 4, and I know he would show up in your room and he would be sold on everything you say.
But
every single thing.
But also though too, I think it's also something that the kids come to expect, and it's just part of it. It's yes, maybe at the beginning where they're coming in for parent night at the very beginning of the school year, maybe the first week of school. But after that, it's just an environment that's welcoming. And I think at the end of the day, if it's a welcoming environment, it's important. I do want to piggyback on what you were talking about, just ask for help. I mean, I remember, Hope, you went to Home Depot, and you had a few things there that
we love Home Depot.
Not only that you wanted to have, but they also helped you put them together for your classroom. All you did was ask.
So great.
So, I mean,
I've tried Home
cool.
Depot. If anyone works for Home Depot, I'm so sorry. They love the female teacher.
I think that's what it is.
I have gone it multiple times. Like,
well, I mean,
just
look
really
at
want you to
Home.
cut these whiteboards. They're like, we don't do that. I'm like, the 4th one was just gone. Like, what is happening?
That was us. They
Florida issues.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. A little tiny cash and a smile goes a long way.
I'm like, geez.
Okay, I want to say
Help a guy
something
out.
here, though. And I think this is an important piece of this conversation because we are talking about too much or too little. When Loreal, when you're talking about your first classroom, and you were talking about how you brought this U-Haul in and you had all of this stuff, I almost sensed at the end of that you had to give a disclaimer. I know that's not for everybody, but that's for me.
Yeah.
Like I saw you shrinking literally as you were talking about it.
You're right.
And I'm like, that's why I want to have these conversations because nobody should shrink. Whether you do a lot or you do a little, at the end of the day, here's what we're looking for. Is this the best for kids? So you know what? If your classroom is a disaster and you're like, decor doesn't matter, but you have amazing results with your kids, it works for you. Now, if your results are poor, don't go saying, oh, it's the kids, it's the parents, why don't we start changing some of the things we can control and look at, well, maybe my environment isn't. Let me start there with what I can control. But I feel like I see this so much. And the reason I noticed it is because I do it too. Why do we have to have a disclaimer for showing up authentically?
You're right.
Whether that looks like a U-Haul or it doesn't. Like, I feel like that shouldn't even have to be something that we put into the conversation.
It's true. And I think we're vulnerable to it because our social media platform is a lot about classroom aesthetics. So we're going to see the flip side. We're going to see a lot of people come for us about must be nice to have rich husbands. That's not the case.
We can anticipate
must be nice to have
the
family
other
money.
side.
Not the case. They're making assumptions about us. And that's one of the hardest things to hear because it's all not true, and I am way more quiet in the comments, but Stephanie will come to bat and then send me screenshots like, how did I come off here? And we're not arguing with them. We're just trying to share perspective that they're lacking.
And be objective because I've never shown up, I try not to respond out of emotion, but with facts.
With facts.
And I'm like, first off, we don't rely on our husbands' incomes. And when it comes to the stuff that you're seeing in our classroom, we fundraised, we asked for help, we found sponsors or whatever it is. And it's not coming out of our pocket or our school's pocket half of the time. Yeah. And it's like, and that is an opportunity you have too. And we are in a culture, I felt the heaviness of what you just said, because it is our reality a lot of days of people trying to argue why we're able to achieve something in our classroom. And it's something that they can do as well. But I think there's a culture happening right now of one-upping when it comes to the struggle, when it comes to talking about like, well, you get this at your school or in your state, you get that. And like, we're from Las Vegas.
And
does anyone know what our district is like?
Kids? Like, how is that changing?
No. And again,
game?
like it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Like we're here to lift you up. So like maybe like instead of, having these doubts or like you said, like shrinking the people around you with doubt, it's like, why don't we work together? Why don't you link arms with us and we'll bring you up with us and tell you what to do in your classroom to, try and get the same outcome.
I mean, and I feel that so much to my soul. And here's what will never make sense to me. And I'm sure that I will be a broken record on this podcast because I feel very strongly about a lot of things.
Wait.
But I am like, if you walk into a teacher's classroom and you look at whatever they have in that classroom, whatever they have required a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because we know that teachers are underpaid. We know that teachers have to create, find, advocate, search for, ask community. And so I would never be able to walk into somebody's classroom, look around and be like, what a sacrifice this teacher has made. Mm-hmm. And then be able to say something negative.
Yeah. We don't get it either.
And so I'm like, if you are that person.
But what you just described is the lens that you look at teachers in, and it's positive. It's like, I'm aware that you showed up in this room.
It's assuming the best.
And we do the same. And we've gone in rooms and schools where we're like, oh my gosh, like the admin is on board. You can tell here. Or like the teachers are putting in that extra time. Sacrifice. Yeah. And it's evident to us, and like we're able to then just like praise. Mm-hmm. It's not coming from a place of like, oh, must be nice,
It's jealousy. I really do think it is.
Which feels ugly to say.
It is.
But it is.
And they're
you gotta
insecure.
call it what it is.
It is, and it's hard because we feel like we have to defend it often. But you're right. We don't need to defend who we are because truly, we are who we are, and we could not have a classroom. I couldn't teach in it. It has to be organized. It has to be beautiful.
You should have seen it.
Yes. Yes. And it was a priority for us. And, other teachers, like you said, may have great data, may have good relationships with kids. We all have our strengths. But
that's right.
We would do bulletin boards for our teams. We love to.
Yeah.
Right.
If bulletin boards are not for you, can I do your bulletin board? Because I
You
enjoy
can absolutely
this.
do mine.
please,
I hated a bulletin board.
We'll schedule
maybe,
something.
maybe they'll help
I'll help
us.
you with something else.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
You want me to help you put something up? You come do my bulletin board.
Yes.
We'll trade off
It's
on
a
that.
You bring the ladder, we'll bring the stage.
Yeah.
Correct. There we go.
When I taught in Harlem, literally aesthetic was like a full, like you almost got like evaluated on aesthetic. Like everything had to be a certain way. It was a charter school in Harlem, and bulletin boards were like the thing. Like there could not, first of all, it could not be, and if, I'm not going to say the name of the school, but if you know, you know. But if you couldn't use paper on the back of the board, so you only could use fabric.
Same.
You had to literally iron the fabric onto the board.
Oh, we have a hack for that.
Okay, let's go back in time. Then, not only could that, you couldn't use paper borders. It had to be ribbon folded over at a certain angle, a certain way. And they had to be routinely like upkept or like that was going to be like a demerit almost. Like there's
A demerit.
that, not my vibe. I will go all out like beginning of the year, sit in my classroom if I want it. Changing out a bulletin board, not my. I would bribe my coworkers with like, I will go to the deli and get you a bacon, egg, and cheese and whatever you want. If you come up with some sort of idea and they'd be like, yeah, so easy for them.
What did you have to put like bulletin boards can't serve a purpose? So did it have a purpose?
Oh yeah, 100% purpose. Like the student work had to be showcased. It had to be there was intentionality behind it because we also had a lot of teachers coming through the school. They wanted students to recognize it. Like the aesthetic mattered for also the brand of the school.
For sure.
But I think it's just your priorities, like you were saying, and I think that whole conversation. I was just like watching the three of you have it about like teacher bashing. Really, we're gonna have to have you guys back for a whole nother episode on that. So
we'll be there.
Stay tuned. Stephanie's like, we're here.
Let's hold some of that from
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's your priorities of what does that look like, but also not just yourself, your students. So we know color can affect students in different ways, but there's not a one size fit all. So you're gonna have to find the medium that works for you, and students are going to adapt to what that looks like.
Yes.
But also we know. Research has proven students do not, and kids, and even adults, do not thrive in chaos. Management, disorganization. So if you feel like things are disorganized, or a student is like, where is this? Or someone walks in and it's just not organized, that's a whole nother element of kind of the vibe of the room that we can't even run this effectively because of these things are not in place. So I think it's looking back of what are these kind of conditions for learning set up of how can students move around the room? How does it make them feel? Can they access those materials? More of that as a priority instead of worrying about what the teacher across the hall has done and then saying, making yourself kind of putting yourself down that, oh my gosh, you're making me look. No, they're working there. If you want to walk out the door and just put up nothing on the board, that's fine too. Like students are not going to notice those things unless you're going to point them out.
Yeah. I think you just brought up something that I think is another assumption that's made, is that when you care about decor and aesthetics and like those types of things, that you're not caring about other things. But Loreal and I have done so many classroom makeovers and for other teachers, and we start with like an interview of like, how do you process? What is your planning like? What do you need like in arm's reach for your area, for your students? Let's talk about traffic. How are they moving through the room? Do you have flexible seating? Do you do centers? Do you do groups? And that's how we start planning the space. So it's not like, okay,
what's your favorite color?
Yes. Do you like glitter? Tell me. Like, it's not that at all. And then once we have that and we talk to her about what does bring you joy? Yeah. What colors? We would never go in a room and paint a wall pink if that teacher's like, I don't know. Like, you know, it has to bring.
I want
I would love to try that.
Why am I not surprised, Chris? No, but that's, I think, again, the assumption is like, oh, well, you just care about your bulletin boards. And it's like, actually, we care about evidence of learning.
And function first. We always start with function.
Because there's the word and.
And
why does everything have to be, oh, well, if they're that extreme, they must not be good at anything? Like, what? I mean, there are so many different elements. You can be, what did you call yourself? What at the very beginning? Because you do an overabundance. You called yourself
maximalist.
Maximalist. That's what it was. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You can be a
can we get that on a
maximalist.
shirt? I literally thought that when you said, I was like, wow. Yes,
maximalist teacher. Yes.
And a highly effective, academically proven, rigor-based educator.
Dare we say maximalist at best practices?
Dare we?
Maximalist at management.
Dare we? Wow. Or you could be a minimalist and a highly effective, best practice-driven, rigor-based educator. Stop making teachers fit. We argue so much as teachers. You're making us fit a mold. You're making us fit a mold. But then when teachers bust beyond that mold, people get angry about that.
That's true.
And so I have another question that I want to ask you guys, because I've heard a lot of this in my own experience, and they act like I've never dealt with kids. But that's beside the point. What about our special education population? Those students who are overstimulated. And I know that, Stephanie, you'll be able to speak to this personally as a mama, because you've been so open about sharing your journey with your own family. But isn't that too much for kids who are overstimulated to have that type of environment? You know, they have to have a minimalist approach, right?
So as specialists now, we are really fortunate that we do get to spend time with all of our students, including our special needs population. And we at our school actually have several autism programs, one of which my son is in. My son is 4, and at just before 3, he was diagnosed with autism, and we've had services since 18 months. So it has been something in those last 3.5-4 years that Loreal and I have really taken time to dive into. And when it comes to our art space, which is very colorful, very vibrant, very organized, when we're serving our autism students, it is a case-by-case basis.
It's so true.
And so there won't be one classroom that is the best. Mind you, there's tools that if a classroom has, will make it way more equipped for students with special needs, whether it's like sensory tools, fidget toys, flexible seating, if it's compression things like that are weighted. You can have those and be better equipped. However, if you've met one kid with autism, you've met one kid with autism. And so
that's like,
takes it, and we've read it, we've heard it from a lot of the specialists that we work
hold
with.
on to it too.
And Loreal, I will say, I'm gonna get emotional. Loreal has been along with my husband, it's like we always joke that we are like a married group.
It takes a village, man.
We feel that vibe.
Do we give that?
We get it.
I love not to divert, but I love when somebody thought that the baby was the two together. I was like,
no way.
Yes, many.
I was like, I can totally see
that.
it because your friendship is just so solid.
We made a joint announcement on our page, and
we're a lot of girl. We are.
Which it feels that way.
We are.
It feels that way, but she's been along this journey of me learning, because we both had autistic students come through our rooms as gen ed teachers, but they haven't been placed there permanently and for the entire day of instruction. And so this has been such a different learning experience, especially because we've had Harrison from day one, and she's been there along the whole ride. And I'm just so grateful that she is so proactive about learning alongside me, because it has made us so much better prepared for all of our autistic community at our school. But our room, especially as soon as we start to get to know our students, we need to start adapting.
Right.
We need to start changing the environment. And mind you, it doesn't mean taking stuff off the walls. It means we learn about those kids we provide for those kids. And again, that might be putting a project on Donors Choose or reaching out to stores. We reach out to so many companies that have sensory tools for students that if they are overstimulated, what can we do? Is it a fidget on their finger? Is it sitting in a rocking chair? Do they need to lay on the stomach to like help them ground themselves and do their art on the floor on a clipboard? It looks different for every student. So I don't think there's an answer, like an answer for that, but I think it's almost a mindset. Like,
I think, amen to all of that. And I love how you said, if you've met a student with autism, you've met a student.
I think that's a reminder that we all need.
I mean, and it is a reminder that's exactly. So Hope and I went to the same university right down the road, Anderson University, and Dr. McEwen was in charge. I mean, we had so many special education classes there, more than any Clemson University or anyone else. And that's something that she always said, and it's always stuck with me, that you have to be students of your students, exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
They're students first, they're humans first. They're not fill in the blank, the disability, the exceptional learning, whatever it may be. Their students are humans first, and we've got to make sure that we know that. And man, the purpose behind it of knowing what your kids need is the foundation to every classroom, and how we have to change that and adapt to it. And you guys are talking about color and all the things in the rooms. You don't have to take things down, but I also think that color doesn't mean clutter.
No.
And I think a lot of times that's where we get stuck, as we put those two things in the same spot, and it seems that way. So.
Yeah.
And make it purposeful. Like,
Yes.
if you're using it as you're teaching, or students can use it, or even if it's something that stays there all year and it's just the same, but you have other tools in other areas that they're accessing, there's not a one size fits all, right? If you're not going to use the anchor chart that you just put up, then you probably shouldn't even put it up, right? But some people are like, you need to see your anchor charts, you need to put these up, you need to do the bulletin board. If you're not using it in a purposeful way that's moving students or creating that environment, then it's not there. And learning from each other, I think, is a huge takeaway that you guys were sharing, Wade as well. I'm the maximalist. My best friend Nikki, who I co-taught with for years, is the definition of a minimalist. She back to school will be like, how can I be here for as least? She's a mom. She's got a lot of things going on. She has a side business. She's family. She's like, I will come. I will help you. As soon as that time is, I am out. And I'm like, no problem. I will take it and run from there, because I know that's what I want to thrive. And we kind of support each other in that. And there's no right or wrong way. Both highly effective teachers teaching the same group of students, both thriving in both environments. There's not a right or wrong way there. But we didn't have to have you guys back, because this is just the beginning of the conversation. I would love everyone on social media, if you can tag us, share out either your classroom now, or maybe even your first classroom ever, because I loved you saying that.
I love that.
My first classroom, it was like the lobby of Cracker Barrel. Like, I had collected all of these things.
I'm gonna come put our picture on your mantle, babe.
I had collected all of these things, like you, Loreal, and then I was like, now what do I do with it? So it was like, this is from here. I got this from the Goodwill. I got this. So it was like literally a disaster, until I was like, okay, I don't even need half of this junk. I got it together by like November of that year.
It takes some years to edit.
It takes a little like tweaking and editing. But if you're listening, share it on social media. Tag us your first classroom or your classroom now. What does it look like? We would love to see it and reshare those. Any last words for everyone as we talk about?
I do have one more question. I wanted to hit this, because I think this is very important, especially for the nature of this podcast. Is I feel like this is one conversation. This will not be every conversation by far, but this is one conversation where I feel like we all kind of agree on the fact that, I mean, we're all maximalists here.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
But I think that number one,
but I leave when it's time to leave.
The core of it is authenticity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we say to someone who, because I feel like people like myself that will be listening to this podcast now, who is a maximalist, is gonna be like, yes, everything they said speaks to my soul. But what do we say to someone who you walk into a classroom and they aren't a maximalist, they're a minimalist, or maybe it's not aesthetically pleasing to your eye, or, you know, because there's a lot of people listening that's probably like, oh my gosh, well, but that's not my classroom, or how do, you know, or they're feeling guilty, which is then why people project feelings of insecurity onto other people. So what do we say to those people who might be listening who are like, well, actually, I really identify more as a minimalist, or classroom decor really just isn't something that I prioritize in my room? What is the message that we give to those people as someone with the flip side, viewpoint on things?
I think at the end of the day, you have to be your most authentic self for those kids. And so if that's not for you, then you need to just be confident in yourself. Be confident in your choices, and know that you're always doing what's best for kids. You're showing up for those kids in other ways. you know, if someone's doing a room transformation down the hall and you just want to borrow that basket of stuff to put some stuff up for a small moment to give them that, they don't need that to be successful. There's evidence all over the world of teachers being successful in the classroom, and their rooms might not look like ours, and that's okay. It's okay to be yourself.
Know that we're cheering you on just because we're maxless. It doesn't mean we think less of you.
No.
Exactly.
And I think it's also important to say that it's like, you might look at another teacher and think like, well, they're putting on this show. The show's for them. Yeah. It's for them. It has nothing to do with you. They're not trying to compete. They're staying in their own lane, and that's what brings them joy. We work with so many people that we know do not prioritize the same things we do, and we value them. We look at them and we're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn from you. We've had people on our teams that we still go to every single day. They don't care about what's on their walls, but do we still value their expertise? Absolutely. Yeah. So sometimes you have to step outside of your own self and know, like, those people are doing it for them. Do you. Just do you. And know that we support it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing is, am I having results?
Yes.
Are my kids safe? Are they happy? Are they growing? Are they thriving?
Safe.
And if the answer to some of those questions is no, that's also okay. Aside from the safe,
Safe.
you know, and feeling seen and heard. Aside from the basics, the needs met. But if there are areas that your kids are not growing in, then that is when you can stop and say, you know what? Okay,
revisit
maybe
things.
decor. And I'm not saying this could go for literally anything. You could have the most beautiful classroom and still not be producing results. So there has to be time when we stop and say, what is my outcome?
Yeah.
And if my outcome is not what I want it to be, what do I need to start analyzing to see how I need to make shifts, even if that makes me uncomfortable, to ultimately get the best results for kids? Yeah. That's ultimately what we need to look at. And so I think that, you know, a lot of it is you've got to have confidence in your outcomes.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if those aren't happening, then that's okay to say, well, what is it that I might need to shift or change? But I think that the problem lies where in one direction or the other, minimalist, maximalist, whatever it is, I feel like we have to stand confident in who we are as showing up authentic and celebrate everyone else for doing the exact same. Absolutely. And I feel like that's where that common end game can lie. We don't have to agree that we have to have identical classrooms to agree that we want the best outcomes for kids.
Yeah.
So
That's a great point.
And that's the flip side.
And that's the flip side.
There we go. But Loreal and Stephanie, this is just the first time you'll be sitting on this couch. I know, because all the ideas turning. But if they want to follow you on social media, let them know where they can find you all and see the incredible work that you both are doing.
We're at Happily Ever Elementary. It is a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. I'm sorry.
We are on Instagram, TikTok.
They make the cutest video. If you just want joy in your life, just go follow
smile.
them. You just have no idea.
Yeah, find us anywhere. Google us. We do have a website. We have TPT. We create stuff for teachers to help you with your function, feeling, and your
And we do
fabulousness.
have a classroom decor line, so if you want to start somewhere.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Carson DeLosa is a company we partner with. It's in stores at Staples. You can shop on Amazon.
It's called Creatively Inspired, and it's a true representation of what we value when it comes to showing up in a classroom.
Beautiful colors, textures, tones, very clean, simple,
I love
beautiful.
it. Insert ad for the line.
Yeah.
Here. There we go. No, just kidding. We love you guys. We're so excited that you are here. If you're listening, thank you so much. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode right here on the couch, sharing some different perspectives on different topics each week, and bring it there. But until next time, we will catch you on the
Flip side.